will take risks for like enjoyable, controversial content. So it's like, who is the advertiser you're talking about? Is
Exactly.
it Pepsi? Is it Dasani?
It's someone
what I
that's
mean?
disconnected.
Yeah.
It's usually when they're talking about someone that wants to edit it like that, it's someone who doesn't have any connection to the product, and they're thinking about shareholders, profits. They're not thinking like, does this work? Does this fit for it? Because I liked your name way better than This Place Rules.
So for those who don't know, it was supposed to be called America Shits Itself.
Which is great. America Shits Itself would have been the greatest title.
Everybody on the team was like, let's do this. Even Jonah Hill was like going to bat. He was telling HBO, he's like, we're calling it this. I'm fucking drawing a line in the sand. And they were just like, you got to change it or it can't go out.
America Shits Itself fucking rules.
Super sick. And they said the same thing.
Such a great name.
They were like, you know, the S word's gonna ruffle some feathers. I was like, come on.
Dude, it's everywhere now.
Yeah.
Shit is everywhere. They say it on network television.
They say shit now.
They say shit. I watch it on TV. On TBS, they say shit. On all these networks, they're saying shit. You're like, it's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah, no.
They can see way worse. Like, it's way worse. Well, I think that's what's awesome about Channel 5 is something that you have a superpower at is, which I'm trying to learn, is how to stay silent when people are talking.
Yeah.
And you fucking sit there. Like, I just watched, you were at the Trump inauguration. You just do a bunch of stuff, but you let people say what they need to say, which then changes what you're making.
Totally.
Based on what they're saying.
You gotta kind of like let them follow their own path. Especially like somebody who goes through the process of going to Office Depot or Staples, getting markers, getting a cardboard sign, going home, writing shit on it that sounds funny, physically going to a location, holding it up and screaming.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's
like,
insane.
So, no matter what you think. So when I talk to somebody at like a protest, like they're ready. They're just waiting for the right person to ask them, hey, what's on your mind? And as soon as you ask them that, boom, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. In terms of content. Not saying that I want to shoot them. But I'm just saying.
When you do that, because I mean, it's funny how you get these people that are like locked and loaded with their opinion.
Yeah.
When the guy was like, we need to get rid of education at the Trump inauguration. He's like, we need to get rid of education. And then he turns around, he's like, we're not educated enough. And you're like, you just contradicted yourself.
Yeah, I cut a part of that interview out where I was talking to the guy because he was saying like we need to abolish public schools.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what kind of school did you go to?
Yeah.
He's like, public school. And I'm like, did you like any of your teachers? He's like, no, they fucking suck.
Yeah.
And I was like, which teacher in particular was the worst? He was like, fucking wrestling coach.
Yeah,
I'm like, why?
there
He's
you
like,
go.
He would like never let me get to varsity and like make me show up early to practice.
And now I'm showing him that I'm tough and strong.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying that is similar to the Kelly equation.
Yeah.
Like, you take a tragic personal situation, some political movement comes around and like has this real binary view of the world, like good versus bad, angels versus demons, hardworking, red-blooded American patriots being robbed blind by this like nebulous dark force.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? I know that my situation might not be electoral or presidential, but it fits.
Yes.
And they don't have that on the left.
And, well, they did. I think the left really did that back in like 2016, 2017, and I saw a lot of comedians saw it where they were going like, no white guys on a show, and you're like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
Like, how is that any better than the things that you're supposed to be fighting against?
Yeah, I think
where they're like, inclusive. We got to be inclusive, but no white dudes. And we're like, that's a weird.
You're actually saying that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I guess I was like in high school.
Yeah,
we're like that?
Oh, this is what's interesting about this right wing wave is it is a response to the mid-teens when they were going like, fuck white dudes. We don't need white dudes. We don't need. In fact, I would even go as far as to argue that's what made Joe Rogan right wing. Because you go back and you look at him in 2013, 2014. He's saying a lot of liberal viewpoints about like tax the rich, do this, do that, and then with COVID, which hurt a lot of people's brains.
Yeah.
I think they just like banged on him of like, oh, you don't believe in vaccines, and just kept pushing him until finally he was like, I fucking love Trump. Elon's the man. Elon's not doing nothing shady. And you're like, that's wild.
Dude, it's crazy. I really think like the best example of like actual solidarity that threatened the government itself was the Occupy movement.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't even necessarily, left versus right. It was like the collective people, working class people versus the richest in the country.
Which is always going to be the thing they're afraid of.
I think the last Occupy style point of solidarity was like the mid 1960s civil rights movement, that time period where we're like, you know what, we're done with this shit. You had almost every single movement that we see today, social movement, formed in the 60s.
Yeah.
Animal rights, Chicano rights, black, even white working class union shit really started back then. And if you look at it, the FBI strategically deployed like programs to take the leaders out, to disrupt the solidarity between a lot of these communities and kind of turn them against each other, and it actually worked. And by the 80s, you had Reagan come in and be like, American, go to work, and you're going to become me one day.
Yeah.
And then now you're kind of seeing, I look at the period between 2012, Occupy movement, and 2016 as our FBI infiltration moment. Because all of a sudden 2016 comes around and it's like, you got these smart dudes who happen to be white, and someone's like, can you please hold space for the people who are marginalized? And they're like, what? I have a great idea. And someone's like, I know you have a great idea, but your heteronormative position is making you like unable to actually have it.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of that is like you're taking people when they're 18, 19, and they're kind of awkward. They're trying to figure out who they are in the world, you know, whether they're black, white, man, woman, or whatever. And you tell someone you can have an automatic leg up socially on like all these fucking white dudes if you just posture yourself as like a super hardcore, like it's my moment type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, what you do is you are literally handing someone a knife and they go stab people in the back. You'll get ahead.
Of course.
Which is an American thing.
Yeah.
A very American thing is to go like break a treaty,
You know you can
go
pick
profit.
your fights,
Absolutely.
right?
And if you look at the actual ownership structures, they're not changing.
No.
Like if you look at, you know, all these colleges that are pushing this like hardcore, like rich leftist gentrifier agenda, like liberal agenda, which is like, you know what I mean, put up a Black Lives Matter yard sign, give your cash app, go move to Bushwick and push people out of their area. That's what they're doing.
But it's crazy because these people that claim to be like helping, you're hurting the neighborhood by putting up these. I used to call them spaceships in Bushwick. And like you're building these spaceships and you're making all these poor people have to move because they can't afford the fucking rent anymore.
And that is like, if not the most, that is like the most pressing social class issue in the US right now.
100%.
And like, it's the one thing they're not making sense of.
Well, they're also not going to be. I mean, you know, my family's from the Bay Area, and watching my dad lived there in the '90s, and I would go there a lot. And watching what the Bay Area was in the '90s, it was very like people could afford it. Everyone lived with each other. You had like lawyers and artists living near each other. And then now, because of the tech boom, they just pushed everyone out.
Dude, I'm from Seattle. It's the exact same.
Yeah. Well, there's a piece of land in Seattle by the Sound. I think it's by the Sound that Bezos bought up and kicked people out. Because I used to work in Kirkland. I would go to Kirkland and work at this club, and I remember one time I was going from TSAC to the club, and there was just homeless people like on the exit ramp in a way I'd never seen. And the club owner was like, "Oh, Amazon just bought a bunch of this like low-income area housing and fucking kick people out."
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Especially like I grew up in Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
And I like to say that I grew up like after grunge and before tech.
Yeah.
So it's like that weird window where Seattle, in my opinion, had its moment. It was sick when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Right on the hill. And then Amazon moved their corporate campus to a neighborhood called South Lake Union in like 2013 when I was a sophomore in high school. And they tore down that whole neighborhood, but it was like industrial before that. So we're like, all right, you know what?
That might be the thing that he was actually talking
It's
about.
like, go ahead and build your corporate campus there. It's totally fine. But then the problem was they were importing all of these like random remote workers and shit into Seattle.
Yeah.
So I think you had like 1,000 Amazon employees move from somewhere else to Seattle every single week for like 5 years.
That's crazy.
And the average residency of an Amazon employee in Seattle was, I think, between 14 to 16 months, because they would get promoted and go somewhere else, like Austin, Portland, wherever they're going.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where all the Amazon employees had to have a place to live. So they all moved to Capitol Hill. So developers sold the city out, literally bulldozed the entire neighborhood.
So your neighborhood is 100% different than what it was when you grew up.
Every dope coffee shop, like Bauhaus, so many like institutions just got bulldozed because the city wanted to give tax breaks to Bezos, which is 0% taxes, and stimulate the economy. So the Capitol Hill neighborhood, the Central District, all that shit is totally gone. And then, you know, COVID happens, all the workers start working remote, and they realize, dude, I can make my Amazon paycheck and move to Idaho and have some land full of chill-ass people where no one's going to make fun of me for being a tech bro. And they're like, they leave, I would too. So now Seattle's a ghost town full of empty skyscrapers, and the landlords won't lower the rents. So we have this homelessness happening, and half the city is vacant apartments.
It's exactly what San Francisco is.
Yeah, and then you have Republican pundits come in and be like, look at these liberals and their dumbass bullshit.
Yeah, look what happened to their city, and you go, well, they had, because a lot of what would happen in the Bay Area was you get seed money, right, from tech. These tech companies would get like angel investors that would drop seed money, and so then these guys are getting like, oh, I can spend $1 million on a penthouse because I got a fucking $17 million seed for my fucking tech company. But then it fizzles out. There's no more money coming in after the $17 million, and now they're like, well, fuck this. I'm gonna go take it where it's easier for me to live and develop my product. And now this $1 million. There's a comic named Tom Rhodes.
Yeah.
Old school comic, hilarious. I love him to death. we were talking about the Bay. He used to live in San Francisco in the early 90s. He bought an apartment in the Embarcadero for like, he told me, I forget what it was, something like $130,000. Bought an apartment. He told me, this is in 2016, he told me that apartment was worth like $7.5 million. And you're like, it's not a different apartment.
No, it's the exact
It's
same.
the exact same apartment, exact same location. San Francisco, for the most part, has all the same shit.
Yeah.
It's just because of that rent. That's what I like about Channel 5 is you do a great job of showing that news uses millionaires and billionaires use the media in order to make people like Kelly feel like you're a soldier on our side.
Right.
And you're fighting the darkness that it's like CNN bitches about Trump.
Right.
But they made the most money they've ever made as a company when he was in office from 2016 to
Of
2020.
course, he was their biggest cash cow. And what they did is like they systematically fell in line with the DNC and disenfranchised Bernie Sanders in 2016.
Which is like calling them Bernie bros.
And that was our guy.
He was literally there to be like, no, dude, I want people to have livable wages. The income disparity is getting too wide, and everyone was like, "What are you, a Bernie bro?"
Oh,
and
I
it made
forgot that.
and it made it sound like you were wearing Abercrombie and Fitch in 2004 with your collar popped, being like, "What's up, bro?" And you're like, you're like, no, it's actually kind of some cool ideas. Well, the thing that personally hit me that I've been sending a link to Channel 5 for everybody. I grew up in Aurora, Colorado.
Oh, dude.
I grew up in Aurora. So when the Venezuelan thing happened in the Trente de Agua, like, it was amazing to me because I finally had something to give to my friends that were like on the right wing, being like, because I have fans that are both liberal and conservative. I don't give a fuck what your political views are. I truly think it's rich versus poor now.
Oh, it's
And that's what it's always been.
but it's especially prominent now.
Prominent. It's very prominent now. It's very obvious now with all the billionaires making moves the way they're doing. Where you're going like, you're either a bootlicker or you're trying to change shit. But Aurora specifically, a lot of people that are indoctrined by these like media sites, right wing, specifically right now are the ones that are doing it the most of it.
Yeah.
They'd be like, dude, sorry Aurora's overrun. Sorry that. Hey everybody, it's your favorite hypochondriac, and if you worry like me, well, guess what? No need to worry anymore. ZocDoc. It's a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty. Mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more. Once you find the right doctor, you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time slot that works for you, and boom, you got a visit. Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/soda to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/soda. ZocDoc.com/soda. It was a robbery. It was a real thing. I mean, dude, you win. The most fascinating part, please go watch Channel 5 about the Aurora Venezuelan migrants. Because there is a moment, you speak Spanish, which to me is like the most valuable part of the entire documentary. Because you're there talking to them without anything lost in translation. And that moment where you're talking to that guy and you're like, you're laughing. Why are you laughing? And he's like, you know how fucking dangerous it was for me to get here? He's like, not even the American border, the South Mexican border.
Oh, totally.
And he was like, I lost all this shit. He's like, I fought to get here to send my money back to my family. You call me like a kid?
Yeah, just imagine you walk through the jungle. You leave Venezuela into Colombia on foot. You walk through the Darien Gap. There's like crocodiles trying to eat you and shit. People are dropping on you like flies, like it's Phoenix in the summertime. Just dropped it. God, sorry, dead weight. We gotta keep moving.
Keep going. Put a t-shirt over your head.
Take buses through Mexico for like 2 months. Cartel fools are extorting you, taking advantage of migrants, holding the rich ones ransom. Mexican police also are systematically extorting you at every single border check. Your watch, your shoes. You finally get to the U.S. border. For some reason, it's open.
Because Joseph R. Biden and Kamala Harris.
There's all of a sudden some Texas Ranger pulls up and he's like, get in, Venezuelans, we're going to Colorado to the sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
You get there, you get to a shitty apartment.
Yeah.
There's a couple kids at the apartment, one of them's named Cookie. He robs an old lady. And then fucking fucking next thing you know, there's 150 YouTubers, live streamers,
Yeah.
dudes with MAGA t-shirts and baseball helmets and ski goggles with gimbals on their back, live streaming, being like, "What's the craziest thing you've seen over here?"
Yeah.
You have Sean Hansen doing a walkthrough. My ass pulls up out of nowhere. I'm all fucking like, "Hey, I'm trying to tell the truth."
Yeah.
And people are just like, "Dude, what the fuck is going on?"
When you got there, was it a circus like that? Was
Yeah.
it just like uncontrollable? And I mean, like you have a gringo like you coming up and speaking Spanish to them. Were they like,
They're automatically just like, "Oh, thank God." They're excited.
yeah,
You know, because Spanish is also just like a beautiful language. So when
Yeah.
you speak it to them, it's nicer. And even if they spoke English, they prefer to be spoken to.
fuck yeah?
You know what I
If I were in a Spanish-speaking country and someone came up to me and they're like, "How you doing, dude?" I'd be like, "Oh, dude, I'm fucking good. This is great. I can talk to you in my native language that I feel the most comfortable with, and I can express myself the easiest through this language." But what's funny, how I knew in the documentary or in the Channel 5 segment, they do a great job of showing the owner of that apartment complex
Yeah.
fled, went down to Clearwater, Florida, fed that to a right-wing, basically like a propaganda farm,
I mean, honestly, just a PR firm.
PR firm.
I don't even think they see themselves as political. It's almost like a lawyer. It's just like
Yeah.
a necessary service. You know what I mean? You can pay the union between lawyers, PR firms, and real estate agents is like something that's been ruining the country for like 200 years.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
like, and they're just like, fuck.
You know why? We don't know where to put our retired hots.
Yeah.
We put all of our retired hots in there.
Literally.
We're gonna go like, "You were so hot in your 20s. Please go sell the houses in your 40s."
straight up,
And they're just like, "I'm gonna market the fuck out of this because these old guys want to fuck me."
Yeah, exactly.
It really is, dude. We have an old hot problem in this country.
Especially in Florida.
Yo, my God, that's or Arizona. Because I lived in Tucson for a while, and you go to Scottsdale, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's like when they take like animals that were bred in captivity, but want them to be outside, but they
Yeah.
can't put them in nature because they'll get killed. They put them in like Scottsdale,
Yeah,
or like
Scottsdale, Arizona.
Tampa.
Yeah, Scottsdale, Clearwater, just like places to go.
Yeah, and they go be hot.
Yeah.
Cause all the damage you want right here. But when the guy went down to Clearwater and did this like PR firm, you
Yeah.
saw it, and how I knew it was bullshit before Channel 5 came out, before any of this, how I knew it was bullshit was I read a news article, something came up on Twitter that I clicked on it, and it was like, Venezuelans taking over quiet Colorado town.
Oh, Aurora.
And you're like, "Dog, Aurora's never been." Watch my HBO special where I do the Aurora voice, because it really is white dudes with X Games accents
Wait,
being
can you
like,
do it real quick?
"What's up, bro?" It's almost like Steve-O, where they're like,
Man, I don't even fucking know, dude. I was smoking a Newport. Guy came through. I fucking smashed his ass.
it really is like,
That's like how Aberdeen, Washington, and Eureka, California.
yeah.
It's like a specific breed of like tweakers who are perpetually in recovery.
Yeah.
Like I knew.
Well, when you found the rapper,
Yeah.
you always find a rapper.
Yeah.
Shout out Uncle Bill. Uncle Bill dropping that N-bomb, though, at that, I was like, "Uncle Bill, you're about to get punched in the face."
I know, dude. Like Pill made a new song because he was like, "Oh, R. Kelly's doing numbers, blood. I'm about to come up with a new song." Right? His new song is just like basically like him, like the lyrics are just him being like, "Pill can't say the N-word, fuck you, bitch," and the whole song is just like Pill. My name is like, I'm just like, bro, this is not the market.
What I love is Chico and Stockton and all those areas around the Bay have the Bay accent.
Oh yeah.
We're like, "What's up, Buster?" They're like,
Yeah.
"What's up, Mark-ass Buster?" And you like hear that. Like that's why I love Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Because he's got such a thick Bay Area accent that when you hear him talk, you're like, that dude is from Oakland.
Yeah.
Like you can hear it.
And it's literally like you can look at it like an earthquake spreading from San Francisco. Like all the Frisco natives live in Oakland, and all
Yeah.
the Oakland fools are in like Sac and Stockton.
They're all out because people can't even afford Walnut Creek anymore. Which was like,
Well, Walnut Creek's always been rich, right?
it's always been kind of nice, but
Now it's like Aspen.
now it's like you can't even fucking come close. But Aurora, growing up, was always middle class, like middle to lower middle class, with some very nice areas. But the thing I know is everyone else from Denver would shit on it.
Dude, that's the thing is like, it's almost like they use certain buzzwords to program and get people upset.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Colorado is a place where everyone thinks it's just a bunch of white people. So you
Yeah.
say like, the average person thinks like, oh, Colorado, like.
It is white. It is very
There's
white.
a lot of white people there, but
Yeah.
like they say the same thing about Seattle.
Sure.
So it's like, you know, obviously they think like migrant gangs taking over. Colorado hits a lot harder than like a migrant gang taking over a small Nevada town.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I would love to every fucking one of these.
Yeah.
So I think that worked pretty well, but like you know that like Colfax has always been like
Dude, Colfax
Blade.
is fucking rough.
always been that way since we have something like Colfax in Seattle called Aurora. And it's like everybody from Seattle is like, yo, watch yourself on Aurora.
Yeah.
And so if you were a migrant, you live somewhere that's cheap as fuck, where they're not going to check for your papers. And every single bad neighborhood in America has gangs.
Right?
Everyone. Because it's a form of protection for a lot of people that live there.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just want to make quick money
Yeah.
because they're in a bad fucking spot. They're living in a bad area. When I moved out of Colorado and I would tell people I was from Aurora, their expression was always like, oh.
Yeah.
They were never like, if I was from Adams Ranch, if I was from like Boulder, they probably would have been like, I love Boulder.
Like Pearl
I
Street.
love it. Flat irons. But Aurora, they were always like, oh. That's why I made, I'm not joking, I didn't mean to wear this, but I'm wearing rock a 225 shirt, dude.
Hell yeah.
Because that's what goes through Aurora.
Yeah, shout out to Aurora. I love it down there. Great people, strong people,
Yeah, just like regular people.
doing their thing, being regular.
And then now I got people from Aurora sending me right-wing things.
Yeah.
One of this guy that I was DMing with, he's from, he sent me like Liberty News. It was something like that. Or it was America First News.
Right.
And it was like, yo, bro, I know you've been acting like nothing's going down in Aurora, but look at this. And I wrote back, I was like, dude, you got God. You
Yeah.
got God. And it's all good, but you got God. He's like, did I? My car got broken into. That happened in the 90s, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, that happened all the time. That isn't a new thing. But people love, it's what Kelly went through.
Yeah.
People love to have a personal thing and to funnel it into a much larger thing where they feel like we're taking on evil.
Dude, exactly. And like they almost create these correlations in their mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's a sequence of events that might not even be true to reality.
Yeah.
Like first this happens with my house in Kelly's case, and he's like, and then this happens with the election. It's all theft.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, it is all theft. I mean, the world is based upon the
By the way,
exploitation of the poor.
yeah, and I hate to break it to you, the U.S. is all theft.
Yeah.
You can go to a couple reservations and have some talks with people where they're like, you guys jacked all this shit.
100%. And speaking of gangs, we also started those.
Yeah.
Like gangs began here. Even the gangs that people see as being like these Central American threats, like MS-13 and 18th Street, those started in LA. And they also started and grew in American prisons. And then Reagan deported those people to El Salvador. These poor El Salvadorian people get, basically taken over by American trained gangs.
Which is crazy
and then
that-
they come back with their tattoos that are like an American tagger style on their whole chest.
Yeah.
And then
Hey,
we're like,
Steve,
bro, what
you
the
know you
fuck
can
is going on?
kick
Get
in
these
fights,
foreigners out of the
right?
country.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that it goes back to Reagan sending them to El Salvador. And
MS-13
having them-
started in Koreatown in Los Angeles because the Salvadorians were being bullied by the Mexicans who were living there. So MS-13, the reason they go like this is because it started off as like a black metal like hangout club. So these Salvadorian kids who would like do this, they'd listen to like Black Sabbath and
Yeah.
talk about how they're tired of getting pushed around by Mexicans. and then so like they just started getting more and more savage.
Just Mexicans just being like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to fuck with these El Salvadorians, fool. They're fucking nuts. And they're
Literally.
like,
And so-
I'm the devil. You're fucking killing me, bro.
Yeah, and so they took it to the next level.
Yeah,
and then,
fuck yeah.
Then they started going to jail, and they were like, "Oh shit, we think we're actually satanic." And in Mexico, they're pretty scared of like.
Well, it's a Catholic country.
Yeah.
It's a very Catholic country.
So they're thinking like, how do we scare all these Mexicans? Like, let's act like we're demons.
Yeah.
And so it worked. And 18th Street formed as a rival Salvadorian gang because now these new Salvadorians came and they're like, "We want to hang out with you guys." And that's was like, "Fuck you, fool, we're the guys."
Yeah.
And it's still going. I mean, it's still a big presence in California. That's the thing about this idea about gangs. Most people, especially like news consumers, don't even know how close they actually are to gangs. There's gangs everywhere. You might just not see them.
Sure.
Like you got people who are like, I live in an upscale part of San Diego, and I'm sick of these gangs coming across the border. It's like, well, dude, if you actually knew what was going on in your city, you might realize there's some gangs.
There's gangs.
There's also crazy rich kid high school gangs.
Dude, which is going to bring up the thing I was just thinking about. I'm obviously much older than you. When Crips and Bloods in the 90s started spreading everywhere, I would be in Aurora. Again, it's not a horrible neighborhood. It's mostly white. There are black people, but it's mostly white. And they'd be like, dude, my brother's a Crip. And you're like, dude, that's impossible. I don't think your brother's rolling 66. I don't think he's repping out of Compton. But some stuff does spread where you'd be like, by the time I got to high school, there were Bloods that lived in Aurora that you were like, oh, that's my friend Mike's cousin Chance, who's legitimately, he's rapping. Like, only wears red, doesn't use C's when he types. Like, like when they're like,
You know, also too, like with rappers like Lil Wayne becoming famous.
Yeah.
Especially you saw it in the South. People just would listen to Lil Wayne and be like, "I'm a blood." You know what I mean? Like it really happened. Like I knew some Bloods in New Orleans, and I was like, "How'd you guys become Bloods?" They were like, "Back in the day, like 2009, like my big bro was just a hell of a party." You know what I mean? He slaps it. And he's like, "I got my fucking
that's
flag."
so funny.
And then it's like at that point, it's like that's your big homie.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared of him, and he fucks with Lil Wayne, so I guess we're Bloods.
So we're Bloods, only wear red. Go buy Bulls jerseys.
Yeah, and like gangs are pretty accepting if you're like from somewhere else. So they
Yeah.
probably go to LA like, "What's up? I'm a Blood from New Orleans." No one's gonna be like, "Is it because of Lil Wayne?"
How did you get there?
Yeah.
They do like a 23andMe.
Yeah.
Swap me, they say. I want to find out how you got into this shit.
And those gangs were also started, you know, low key by the FBI too,
Oh, to ruin black communities, Latin
specifically to dismantle the Black Panthers.
Well, you know, when you really look into Fred Hampton and what they were doing, they had a great social program running that was outside of the federal government. The breakfasts for kids.
Yeah.
They had neighborhood walk. They made the neighborhood safer.
Yeah, they actually protected like Oakland and Company.
Yeah.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, I can talk about therapy till I'm red in the face, but I've been doing it for over 12 years now, and it has greatly helped my life. Just having someone to talk to about your day that sometimes can give it a professional opinion to make you go like, oh, so it isn't just me, but I could probably handle it better. That's how I would describe therapy. But BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Across a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties, easily switch therapists anytime at no cost. So you can build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Soder to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Soder.
And that's also fascinating. What I also think is what white people did before street gangs or whatever were motorcycles.
Oh yeah, that's our shit.
That's our shit. If you go read into the Hells Angels,
Yeah.
the Hells Angels were created because a bunch of these Vietnam vets, and I think it was started as far back as like World War II vets would come back and they would be fucked up because of PTSD, and they'd be like, I just want to get on a bike and ride, and then that became their gang. So it's like you had like a lot of war vets.
Yeah. Dude, they were pretty nuts. Man.
Oh, dude, Hunter S. Thompson's book, Hells Angels, is a great read of what it was like when Sonny Barger, like the original OG, the Purdue chapter, and then the Oakland chapter. And then that's where my dad was from Oakland. And so he would have stories about, like, my grandma would be like, well, we got out of there pretty quick because like, the Hells Angels. And then there was a black motorcycle gang called the Dragons, which was for the black part of it. So, like, my dad was born in East Oakland on, like, 21st and 20th. 21st Street, 20th Avenue, and he said like the split from East Oakland, because you know it's close to Berkeley. You're like right next to Berkeley, which is like the most liberal hippie shit in the world. But Oakland was pretty much split black and white, and you had like the Hells Angels and the Dragons.
So if you were on like 24th and International in the 60s,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like white working class, young parents.
yeah, because I read Hell's Angels by Hunter S. Thompson, and just like ethnographically, I was like, wait, there's these like tough white fools from Brooklyn
Yeah.
that like act white.
I mean, it's crazy. They don't. Yeah, they're not like walking around like, "What's up, blood?"
Yeah,
And like,
exactly.
there's this guy's like, "How are you doing?" My father's name's Stanley. My mother's Mary.
Yeah.
But that was my dad and my aunt were from that part of East Oakland, and then they moved as my grandparents got divorced. My grandma moved them out to like Pleasanton and Walnut Creek when she got married to a doctor.
Yeah, I feel like Cocoa County kind of absorbed like the last remnants of whatever that was.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And now Oakland's just fucked.
Yeah.
So is the Bay. It's just
fucked
like
up.
it's all fucked up because of this money. But that's what's interesting because you're looking at a guy like Kelly and Dear Kelly, and you're going like you're actually watching where the tipping point of
Yeah.
where he falls off. And now his kids are detached from their father, which is going to cause a ton of issues.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with like self-mythology. I think that can be one of the most damaging things to people's life and recovery. There's a lot of people think of themselves in a certain way that's not necessarily how they are, but the character of how they want to be perceived.
Sure.
Kelly has this idea of like, I never complain, I never ask for help. I am like an alpha, buff businessman who gets it done, takes care of his family. And so that kind of conflicted with the reality of like, I lost my house and I can't provide for them. How do I maintain this bravado while simultaneously accepting my sort of downtrodden he's
think
able to
that
channel that alpha mentality into like political shit. too.
Sure. Do you think the boomer generation specifically has a hard time with accountability?
I mean, I just think I wouldn't say so much like accountability, but the Reagan era toxic positivity of like, I'm doing great, everything's totally fine. I don't know if it's like a response to like their parents being like, I went to World War II, what the fuck do you have to complain about?
Yeah.
I think part of it has to do with that, of like any complaint they leverage is like, well, your grandpa was in Omaha, so I don't know what you're complaining about.
Which is survivor's guilt.
Yeah. So I think
It's like a way of being like, because I think you're absolutely right. The boomer generation had to deal with their parents who went through World War II and the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And they were like, save your money. Shit's about to go down. At any moment, shit's about to go down. And then shit never went down for the boom. I mean,
Yeah.
Vietnam went down. But
yeah, but I mean, Vietnam wasn't World War II.
No.
But I think part of the reason that the 60s became such this fucking crazy moment is because World War II, we were like the good guys. So you got home from World War II, and everyone was like, thank you, man, you defeated the Nazis. I think that from what my grandpa told me, he was in the Air Force, he told me he was wearing his uniform on the subway in Philadelphia. These hippies like, cursing at him, trying to spit on him. And I think he still looks at that as one of his worst memories. And it's because,
Because he went and did all this shit.
got drafted.
Yeah.
When he was 19, he comes home and these kids are
Baby killer.
they're looking at him like he is the manifestation of like imperialism,
Yeah.
unnecessary wars against communism. But the reality is that we've came a long way since then. I don't think that you still see protesters spiting service members.
Sure.
You can, when you're against the Iraq War, you don't see a soldier in uniform like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You say fuck George Bush.
Yeah, you go like, fuck the old guy that sent you to do that.
So I think that also like that really drove a generational wedge that made way for like a
What about these people that are so patriotic, right, for soldiers, and like stand for the anthem? Because as a 49er fan, I grew up a 49er fan, and when the Colin Kaepernick shit happened, where he was taking a knee, they became like, you're being disrespectful to the flag, but then they're screaming during the national anthem. I was at an Eagles game, and I was with Big J and Mike Vecchione and Shane, and Eric Reed, the safety for the Niners, was taking. Kaepernick was off the team, but Eric Reed was still taking the knee, and they were like that Philly accent. They're like, "Yeah, stand the fuck up, stand the fuck up, fuck," during the national anthem, and you're like, "Yo, isn't this worse than him taking a silent knee? Isn't this like way more?" I don't know. Just in my head, it didn't compute.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you're screaming. It's like, and the ref, stand the fuck up, you fucking piece of shit. And you're like, this is, I can't even hear the national anthem because you're yelling at me. But what's strange to me and something that I don't understand is all these people, because dude, our servicemen, they have to go do the hardest shit.
Yeah.
They have to go to these places where people don't want them.
Right.
And like, rep our country.
Yeah.
In a way that's fucking terrifying. And a lot of times they're 18 to 23.
Totally.
My question is why is the treatment of soldiers after they serve so fucking terrible?
In terms of the VA benefits? Or like
Well, the
public
VA
reception?
benefits, just the reception. I mean, like the fact that someone can come back from like a Fallujah, have horrible PT, because that's my exact. I was 18 when 9/11 happened. People that I went to high school with joined the army to go fight in Afghanistan, and then they're fucked up. They come home and they have horrible PTSD, and there really isn't a place that they can go, and instead now they're homeless or they have problems, and people are like, get the fuck away from me. But then those same people that are saying get the fuck away from me are yelling at Kaepernick for not standing up during the anthem.
Yeah, I mean, I will say there is like certain small town environments that I've been in. Freeport, Pennsylvania, Algona, Iowa, some outskirts of Duluth, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Where these are towns with like 1,000 people or less.
Sure.
You got veterans wearing their, full fatigues or whatever they wear in Iraq, and they walk around town and they are the shit.
Good.
They walk into a Waffle House or a diner and everyone stands up, they clap, they salute, they give they salute. They give them free food. They go out to the bars at nighttime. The chicks are all over them.
Great.
Their life is awesome. I think that sort of like coming home from war dream does exist in small town America.
Okay.
But I think in the major cities, there's just not that much understanding of the sacrifice that they make. And that's something that a lot of people don't know about me. I have a lot of military family background.
Yeah.
Not my dad, the generation before that, almost everybody was involved in the Army or Air Force in some way. So I have a lot of respect for service.
Fuck yeah.
When I hear people talk shit about me, it pisses me off, especially some of these like rich ass pampered college kids. I don't know why it pisses me off so much, but during the Free Palestine protest,
Sure.
that was one of the most classic examples of the psychology of this new generation. The Columbia protest.
Yeah.
Columbia is $75,000 a year.
It's insane.
So you have people at those protests who are saying like, this school is a demonic, hellish organization. They give money to an apartheid ethnic state. The first thing that comes to mind is, oh, why don't you drop out?
Yeah, go to a
Why don't you stop literally giving your money to this evil club, right? But that's off limits. And no one even questions.
Because my dad won't let me.
I want to have a career. It's like,
Yeah.
and those are the kind of people, logically, who see a service member like, Jesus Christ, what did you kill?
Yeah, you're like, no, bro, I had no choice.
Yeah, no, a kid tried to fucking kill me.
But I think that's what's great. Yeah, I know, for real. Now I'm scared of kids holding stuff.
Yeah.
I can't, you know what I mean? I can't hear a book drop and not piss my pants. Because you fucking,
Yeah, no, seriously.
because you want to come here and do communications at fucking Columbia. But that's the exact thing that I love and always focus in on everything you do for Channel 5. I'd probably say it's your main thesis, which is the break of poor versus rich and how it trickles down to the families and how they have to deal with shit where you're getting stuff, a rich guy and a poor guy, but then you look at two generations displaced and you go, it's still there.
Oh, totally.
It's not like that leaves. These are rich kids that, like, we live in a very nice building. I have a lot of contempt for the young people that live in my building. I have a lot of contempt. I got into it with a kid on the elevator, and it wasn't not like the NFL, but I told Katie I was being extra spicy because I was like, I fucking earned this apartment. You know what I mean? I wanted to ask him. We were talking about sports, and I was going to ask him if his dad pays the rent.
Yeah.
Because you're pretty sure they do.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm in like the reverse of that right now. Like I just moved into a really nice neighborhood for the first time in California.
Yeah.
I only got a 6-month lease. I'm not going to say the neighborhood or because it's going to make people hate me, but it's a fucking nice place.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm paying a 6-month because I was like, I want to know what it's like to live like a rich person. And on the reverse end, when it's too nice, people hate you no matter what if you're below 50 grand.
Yeah.
So my neighbors, like, a lot of them are nice, but some of them, like, I'll leave the lights on at night time. You know what I mean? Like, I want, we're also the only renters, like, in the area for, like,
Sure.
2 miles. And so I'm about to move back into the RV. I'm saying it right now. I'm about to move back into the RV. Like, I feel like I'm losing my touch with reality.
Because you're just surrounded by nice stuff.
Yeah, dude, like, the more money you have, the less community there is.
For sure,
it's
because
weird.
everyone wants your money.
Yeah, and also there's this like fear of the outside, the fear of the pores.
Yeah.
It's like kind of ruptures the brainwaves of a lot of the rich. We're like, all right, I got my shit now. I don't want anybody without shit to be near me.
Dude, the second, I think that's a really important lesson for anyone that also comes from not a lot and does get a lot. You will lose that connection if you're not careful.
Yeah, and I used to know what was going on everywhere. I used to be in the RV, surfing city to city, and seeing what was cracking. And now, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta get back out
I
there.
know what's going on online, which is what I'm saying. I'm kind of experiencing that echo chamber syndrome for the first time.
Well, what's crazy about it is you were the boots on the ground for everyone else. Because we're like watching Channel 5 and we're like, that's actually what happened. And so it's crazy to hear, because I do think that's what happens. The internet gets you, and then they're able to like convince you that outside is horrible.
Yeah, definitely. And also just the way that like being social media famous or whatever the fuck
Yeah.
influences like personal interactions made me want to live in the hills away from everybody.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, this augmented reality is really fucking with my perception of self. I need to be more grounded. But now that I look at the differences, I'm like, all right, live in an RV and get recognized 10 times a day versus living around a bunch of rich people, I'll take the RV. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, all right, I can deal with that, you know?
Well, rich people always worry about it going away, especially if they don't earn it.
Yeah.
Because if you earn it, you have this kind of feeling of like, well, I could lose it, but I can make it back again.
Yeah.
Because I made it. That's why I lived in Astoria, Queens for like 15 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I loved it. And I lived under a subway, and I lived under the train. Like the train rode above our apartment. I miss that apartment all the time. Me and Vecchione, 2555 boys, dude, up on 31st Street. But people would be like, make fun of me. They'd be like, dude, you're on fucking a TV show, and you've got a Sirius XM show, and you live under the train, and you're like, well, I don't pay attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a guy that handles my money, and I don't even really talk to him. I just make sure it's safe and all the taxes are paid
Yeah.
because I don't want to lose that touch. Because I liked it. I liked walking to the Dunkin' Donuts in Queens and seeing what was going on. And like you kind of have a feel for it.
It's also too, I have like employees for the first time. I have like 6 people working for me. So I'm like, dude, I gotta be in the office to like teach them how to edit. Like I'm training editors so I can work less.
Sure.
on the computer. So I'm getting there seeing like, I just bought this new ambulance. It's like a European ambulance, but so I like painted it white. I might paint it like all kinds of crazy colors, but I'm gonna hollow out the back and build like an editing studio with Starlink internet and shit, where I can sleep and there's like a backdrop so I can be like mobile.
That's fucking sick.
And I'm just trying to get back out there, bro, because like,
So you didn't like getting off the road and settling down?
bro, oh god, it's the road. Fuck. I wish I was at a gas station in Indiana. You know what I mean?
Really?
Well, no, I'm happy to be on this podcast.
Yeah. No,
But-
don't worry. I wish I was in a gas station in Indiana right now. I'd be buying smokes.
Imagine people we could talk to.
Yeah.
And like we could find snacks and merchandise you can't find in other places.
I love that. We're going to Alabama this weekend to do shows. We're going to the Space Center and just like
Oh,
picking
you
it
go to
up.
Birmingham?
Yeah, we're going to Huntsville.
Oh, even better. Real. Not that Birmingham's not real, but
Yeah.
like up north it's a little different.
Yeah, we're going to like, we're just going to fuck around.
You go to Gadsden. You been there?
No.
That's where Yellow Wolf's from.
Really? Damn.
It's low-key the Aurora, Colorado, about you know? Dudes in sideways DC hats.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, what's up, man?
They got the same voice, just all that Steve-O voice.
Everybody's like Yellow Wolf's second cousin.
I know Yellow Wolf.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are one of the only people that I've talked to recently that's been everywhere and just been to places where you're like, America's the fucking best. It's the best. And what sucks is the 24-hour news cycle has made us, both Democrats and Republicans, make it feel like
Yeah. Americana and like American culture is the best. The people and like the fucking mosaic of personalities and communities we have here is the best. However, we're one of the worst global presences, and we have some of the most obnoxious, manipulative rich elites of anywhere else.
of any.
And they use the news machine as their like propaganda apparatus. They just pump money into it and hypnotize the public. But what's worse now is they're figuring out how to do it with independent media and podcasting.
Sure.
And you're seeing a lot of these podcasters, I'm sure you've seen this, leaning into the mainstream media. And I knew that was suspicious when I saw it.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
You know, because I was like, wait a second. If you're saying like, I don't want to shit on any podcast.
Sure.
But it's like,
I'm fine with it if
you're
you want to,
saying,
though.
you're saying, oh,
I'll fucking
fuck Fox News, yet you give Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, and Jake Paul a front row at the fucking inauguration.
Yeah.
And the Nelk Boys, I think, were there too because they got snubbed. But the point is, I'm saying it's like, they used, Trump and those people used the podcast sphere to manipulate their way into the White House by like assuming this like, oh, I'm just your friend. It's
Yeah,
me,
bro.
Trump, your buddy. You know,
Yeah.
like,
And what's funny is people get like so mad. I don't like any politics. I've never liked anybody. There's no point of them being a public servant. They're all there for themselves. And it's crazy because like you'll say that, you'll be like, I don't know, man. Like I kind of feel weird with Elon being an unelected, foreigner fucking with our shit. And they'll be like, you want the fuck in Biden? You go, fuck Biden too. And they're like, well, AOC, fuck her. I don't give a fuck. Fuck all of them.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about any of them. And fuck Bill. But I was trying to think like, it's so funny when you go like, I love Americans and I love America, and I wish that these greedy rich motherfuckers would let. If we would have just finished Bernie's second term, we would be in a much.
we'd be doing fantastic. And also, like, back to the podcaster thing, I don't want to shit on them, but what I'm saying is I understand the appeal of the Trump sphere and, like, the post-cancel comedy world.
Sure.
Because, like, it obviously, like, the language policing and just, like, the hyper-liberalization of, like, comedy that you were talking about in 2016.
It was wild.
Made shit not funny.
So it made it be like, you would call shit gay,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, so you hate gays? You're like, no!
Right.
It goes back to the Louis thing. He's like, I would never call a gay man. I don't know if you might get mad. He goes, I'd never call a gay man. He goes, maybe I'm watching two guys suck each other's dicks.
Yeah.
And he pulls the dick out of his mouth and goes, people from Phoenix are called physicians. Shut up. It's such a dick. It's like, but it's like a point of that joke was so perfect about like the language is just sometimes unintentional. And I understand that there's like historic, there's causes, there's people. I get all that, but you're right. There was like this hyper like, don't policing.
Yeah, and guess who doesn't care about language? Trump. So it's like, for example, like I went to Austin, went on Shane and Matt's podcast.
Yeah. Shout out to the dogs.
Yeah. Shout out to the homies.
Yeah.
Dude, the comedians there are hilarious. Like just like it was,
Great.
I was even just seeing like I know people have their own. I know stand-up's got its own like drama and class. I don't care about that.
Well, it's because we try to act like we're tough boys, but we're really theater girls.
Yeah,
That's what
and
it is.
I was seeing live stand-up, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen funny stand-up in person in a long time.
Yeah.
This is actually funny, not because they're doing like offensive shit just for the sake of shock. Like they're not scared to make funny jokes. This is tight. I don't see this too much in Los Angeles.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I was like,
it
so
really
cool.
is, and like, well, I would say something I give credit to New York for. New York, like the alt scene obviously did, but the club scene, a lot of people didn't really bend. You still had Louis, you still had Rock, you still had Tell, you still had like Colin Quinn. You still had a lot of guys that were just doing funny shit. It's something that Shane never gets credit for, which I will always fucking yell from a mountaintop, is he got fired for a podcast clip and didn't lean into it.
I was gonna tell you that is by far my favorite thing about Shane, and kind of why I look up to him in certain ways.
Yeah.
It's because a lot of people, they go through a public controversy or a scandal, and then they make their whole life this like vendetta about like, I am the underdog, the righteous one who got done wrong. I'm a free speech lion and a guardian of people being able to say retarded faggot. You know? And then you have people who are like, oh, that sucked. I'm just gonna keep pushing forward and just keep doing their shit.
I watched him. He was living in New York. I was seeing him every day. I had dinner with him the night he got SNL. I called him the next day. He literally got fucking fired from when I left New York, flew to Portland. I landed in Oregon, and I called him. Babe, people are mad at you. I'm reading like a Variety article before I call him. I'm like, dude, you're fucking in trouble. But he didn't do the thing where he was like, they canceled me. And he just went like, you know what? I'm just gonna go be funny. I'm gonna go make my shit. And then he's hosting SNL again March 2nd.
Yeah, and there's a new pipeline now that I'm not sure was as prevalent then, but if you go through a public scandal of any kind, the mainstream media tells you your career is over, but it actually means that you get to have a second career with like the worst people ever. So as soon as I remember for me, like, dude, I was getting, I can't even tell you the job offer. Like, I don't even want to say it, but like, I'm just gonna say I had InfoWars hit me up and be like, dude, do you want a paid position? And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, I want to sell your frog brain fucking pill.
It was like a 1-to-1 ratio. People being like, "You're a piece of shit." People being like, "Bro, fuck liberals, come work with me."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man, this is so crazy."
You know what's funny is Shane said something to me so offhanded, like maybe. So it happened in 2019, and I remember hanging with him in like 2021. He goes, "Dude, I just started going back on Twitter." He's like, "I just was able to open Twitter, look at my notifications, and it wasn't racist. You fucking piece of shit racist, like death threats and shit." He's like, "I'm just now being able to drunk tweet. Deep throws are sick." Send it out. But I always really, really respected the fuck out of him for not doing that. And also, he's world-class funny, and it's paid off.
Absolutely, but a lot of those like free speech movements, they do harvest anger after you when you're in like a traumatic state. It's actually pretty similar to the whole Kelly situation.
I mean, I really think, I'm not even joking. I talked to my therapist about what you were saying about Kelly, about like losing security, love, and significance. You lose those things, and you go to something. And as someone who, my dad and my sister died real close to each other when I was like 14 and 16, and when he went to rehab, when Kelly went to rehab, he said, like, I went through those major things that changed my personality. I went from being a guy who was like, I'm not gonna drink. My dad died of cirrhosis. I was like, I'm not gonna drink. I'm not gonna be an alcoholic. Like, because I knew my whole family was alcoholics. And then that shit happened, and I'm picking up a bottle, and I'm right back to where and I'm getting fucked up. Because you don't realize those, because I think baby boomers, having them as our parents, that my mom was like, you'll get through this. Because that's kind of what her parents told me. So I'm like, I'll get through this. And then I get fucked up, and I'm like, yeah, this rules. I kind of want to just keep getting fucked up, even though I knew. You see that slide. And so watching Dear Kelly and watching how you document his slide, so you realize a lot of it's his own personal fault, is like,
For sure.
is very big.
And I think that was why the weed segment was particularly controversial.
Yeah.
Because when he went to rehab, that phone call that we had the first week, where he was like, dude, I'm realizing I have these unprocessed consecutive traumatic events that I haven't dealt with. I have to apologize to Greg Joyner. I have to get right with my family and get right with God and all this good shit.
Yeah.
By the third week of the treatment, he was just like, dude, I've realized I'm an addict. I have of addiction. It wasn't me. It was the fact that I was just smoking so much. So once I find God or higher power, as they say before, and I push that evil addiction to the side, I'm gonna be fine. So they externalize all accountability for that shit. And the next thing you know, they're replacing their conquest, not conquest, like their whatever you want to call it. Their holy mission is just back, but they're just sober.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how much of that was the facility itself.
Sure.
Incentivizing him to be like, you're an addict, you're broken, repent, find the higher power, you're gonna be fine.
Which is very AA.
And also the recovery and rehab industry is predatory.
I mean,
so,
listen, the Sacklers invented OxyContin. Purdue Pharma pushed it. They got everyone hooked on opiates. An opiate epidemic hits the United States, and then you find out they're turning around and they're making rehab places.
Right.
Where they're giving Suboxone, where they're giving shit that's like getting people off of it. And you go, you're the ones that put them on.
and psychologically, you teach someone that they're inherently broken to have super negative self-talk about their old self and create this old self thing. Like, you ever go to an AA meeting and someone's like, I was such a piece of shit.
It's like, well, no, you're still a piece of shit.
You're the same guy. You know what I mean? And like,
And listen, man, I think AA, I have a lot of friends that work the steps. I know a lot of people that are in recovery. I never did it because of that.
Yeah.
I read this book by this British guy named Alan Carr called The Easy Way to Quit Drinking. And basically what it is he's like, AA is just going to tell you you're broke. You're not broke. You're addicted to a thing. But you learn, what I liked about Alan Carr's book, The Easy Way to Quit Drinking, is he said you learned how to like it.
Yeah.
Now you have to learn how to unlike it. And I mean, March 9th will be 12 years where I haven't drank because of that book. And I haven't done AA, haven't done any meetings, but I also smoke weed. So I understand the addiction just moved somewhere else. So like last year I quit smoking weed for like 3 months. And I was like, oh, it's what Kelly said, where he's like, I had a lot. You take that thing off. When you guys are in the intervention and the therapist goes, now you're gonna see a lot of stuff come up that the weed's keeping down and you don't realize it's a lot of people.
dude, straight up. And back to the AA thing. Dude, when I went to AA, which was like for a month and a half, every day made me want to go on a crazy bender.
Yeah.
Because all these people were telling these sick ass stories. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, dude, I was down bad. It was like, I remember one time I won $100 grand at blackjack, had like a threesome with like these 2 Brazilians, and I'm driving back in a Corvette, and I stop and get another beer, and I crash my car, wake up in jail, end up being friends with the jail guy. He lets me out early. We go back to the strip club. Anyways, dude, I'm so happy to be here with you guys, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta get out of here.
Cool. He goes, there I am. Willie Nelson's telling me to put it down. And I said, Willie, you pussy. We got it. Yeah, dude, that's so funny.
And they're just talking about alcohol so much. I'm like, I don't think about beer this much. I stopped going to AA, and I've never drank less.
Yeah.
But I want to say, though, shout out to AA. I know
For
a lot of people, it really, really works.
And listen, the big book and all that stuff they use, whatever can help you, it's kind of like fitness.
Yeah.
Whatever can help you, do it.
Yeah.
I'm not judging if you do yoga, if you lift weights, run, just do it. You're just trying to help yourself.
Yeah. And with the Kelly shit,